The shortage that you see, of coal, this is, first of all, I would say this is a very, very temporary phenomenon. You've already seen that the coal supplies and the shortages having improved. Yesterday, for example, the peak shortage was only 2,700 megawatt, and so it's come down from the highs of about 12,000 megawatt. So this is a very, very temporary phenomenon, and we should not really be unduly concerned about this. Having said that, of course, this is a pointer for us that we need to be vigilant. Of course, this has been caused by, as you are aware, the global shortages in coal, gas, and then also, of course, domestically, wind, which normally is does support the demand, this time was little low, and similarly hydro. So as far as capex is concerned for the sector, we are very sanguine about the growth prospects, because you see, India is still a growing country. India still the average per capita consumption of electricity is only 1,200 units per year, which is 1/3 the global average. If you compare it with US, it is 1/10. Even if you compare it with UK and China, we are still at 1/4 the consumption. And with the growing emphasis on green energy, energy transition, and electric vehicles because of climate change concerns, there is going to be good capex in the years to come.
Okay, Mr. Malhotra, before we start talking about your business and we want to get some more idea about the book, lending trends, etc., a broader question, REC and PFC, I think even PFC, they were made the nodal agencies for this RDSS scheme, the revamped distribution sector scheme, which was supposed to be very reforms based, as long as discoms sort of set their house in order, they get some assistance. And there was a big outlay for the scheme as well. There was also the liquidity infusion scheme that was introduced last year to help out stressed discoms. At the heart of the power crisis also seems to be the issue of payments. We were speaking with the power secretary just yesterday, and he was talking about the reason for the the cuts is also because states are not making good on their bills. So you please tell us, are these schemes really taking off? How much are you lending? And do you see any improvement in overall health? Finances of the power sector, especially the state-owned entities?
Yeah, so this is the underlying question, and you have really hit the nail on the head. See, the liquidity infusion scheme was the need of the hour. It was a very, very different scheme. The purpose was very different. The purpose was basically to infuse liquidity into the power sector after COVID. And because of lockdowns, when payments came to a trickle from the consumers and energy consumptions went down, whereas the fixed costs remained the same. And so at that time, it was very important to keep the power generating stations running, to keep the electrons flowing in the network and keep the homes lit up. And so that's why this liquidity was introduced. And I'm happy to inform you that by 30th September, we have both PFC and REC together were able to infuse more than 100,000 crore rupees into the power sector, and this is against the target of 90,000 crores. So we have achieved more than the target insofar as liquidity infusion scheme is concerned. Coming now to the new scheme, which is the reforms-based distribution sector scheme. The purpose of this scheme is very, very different. And while liquidity infusion scheme was, a one-time solution to the immediate liquidity crisis, this looks at the sector in a much more holistic way, and realizes that without looking into the solvency issues, the profitability and sustainability issues of the distribution companies, we will have to perhaps, continue doing these kind of introducing.
But Mr. Malhotra, I just want to understand this LIS, the amount that you, Mr. Malhotra, just allow me a question. The amount that you have given under LIS, and those were emergency sort of situation contingency provisions that were made. What about repayments? We all know about the sort of the bleak health of discoms. how is the payment cycle going to be?
Yeah, so this is one fear, that the industry has, but I think these fears are really very, very unfounded. If you look at the payment history of the discoms, they have not defaulted. They have not defaulted either to REC or to PFC, and so going forward, and there is no stress. Whatever stress we have, whatever NPAs we have on our books, they are in the private sector. And liquidity infusion was, as you are aware, for the government discoms. So firstly, going by history, we don't expect there to be any repayment issue. However, we have taken care, we have taken good care, and we have ensured that that there is a robust payment security mechanism, and we have insisted on government guarantees for all these loans. So we do not foresee any issues of repayment insofar as liquidity infusion scheme loans are concerned.
Okay, that's great to hear. Mr. Malhotra, can you tell us a little more about the stress in the book? Because I was going through your asset quality and it has been pretty stable at about 4.8% gross NPA ratio. But you briefly mentioned that there is still stress as far as the private, private side of the business is concerned. How do you see the situation unfold over the next 12 to 18 months?
No, so insofar as stress or NPAs are concerned, I think REC is amongst the best performing over the last few years. At present, first of all, our NPA is at a very low of 1.8%. So net NPA 1.6% rather is as per industry standards, I think it's quite normal, if you are giving 100 loan of say 100, 1.6% going bad is something which we would normally expect. And we have over the years, reduced it. So we were at about 4+% about 2 years ago, and we have reduced it now to 1.6%. Going forward as well, as I mentioned to you, we do not expect the stress to increase. We are continuing to get repayments, and moreover now, as I was mentioning,